38. 31.
1931.
1931.
Graduated from high school.
Mhm.
1931. So you
78 years
actually a
ago.
good
Is
year.
that right? 78.
Yeah.
1931. You were only 1938.
He was only 4 years old at the time.
In 31, you were only 4.
That's right.
Oh, you should see the picture of our wedding day, how little he was. And Bill was even littler. He was even shorter.
So you married in 38.
Uh-huh.
So you would have been 12 years old.
Right.
And I know he sent you the DVDs of Kenneth's
Wedding,
wedding.
which was before ours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I brought some more copies. I made some more copies for, I thought one of your kids or grandkids
Wonderful.
would like them because they weren't, he paid $30 to have your copy made, and I had my brother-in-law make
Nothing
some.
was too good.
Thank you, Sam.
So I wrote on here that Kenneth Houston took these 8mm home movies in the late 1930s, early 1940s
Yes.
in St. Louis, and I'd like to get more detail. I'd like to get him to sit down and watch them with me.
They were probably married in 37 then.
Okay. But there's a photograph you're playing in the park with Bunny. You and
Right.
Bill
Yeah.
are out by a creek or a spring coming out of the wall or
Mhm.
down the rocks, and you're playing
I
with
don't know if it's Forest Park or not.
Forest Park.
Forest
it
Park.
sounds like.
that. You told me that was Forest Park
Mhm.
before. So anyway, I have 3 more copies here for you. So because
Wow.
it's kind of hard to get copies made. So
Yeah.
You got one for
You know-
Sally, right? Sally?
Yes,
What's-
I'd love to have.
What's Sally? Does Sally live here?
Yeah, she lives in Baldwin, which is a suburb.
Oh, good.
we just were in Baldwin last night because my mother's brother Jack
Yes.
lives in Baldwin.
Yes.
So we got a kind of a little tour there last
Yeah,
night.
it's about 10 minutes away.
So
And what is she doing, Sally?
She's working for the special district school,
Mm-hmm.
and she's a teacher's aide.
Okay.
Her degree was in social science. She was going to be a social worker
Mhm.
And where did Sally go to college?
in Fulton, Missouri. There's a little Christian college there, and she had some friends that were going there.
Mm-hmm.
And her friends were from the St. Louis public schools and were pupils of her dad's.
Oh, wow.
And we took Sally with us when we took the senior class to Washington, D.C. and New York.
Mhm.
And she got acquainted with them then. They were the same age. And she wanted to stay with them and go to college with them.
How neat.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we couldn't talk her into being a teacher. She'd have been set nowadays with what she's really doing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, does she have any kids?
She has 2 boys. The youngest is in college at UMSL. That's the University of Missouri at St. Louis.
Okay.
And the other one is older, and he's out. He's graduated, and
Okay.
he's working.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how old is Sally? I'm trying to think of...
Sally is about 50. Let's see, she was born in, I have to count, 92. 7, I guess. She was born in 1947.
1947. Okay,
And
so she's
close to 60.
Yeah, 61, because she's born 11 years. No, wait a minute, because no,
She's
47? So she's 9 years, so she's 59, I guess, right?
Yes, she's going to be 60 her next birthday.
Yeah, yeah, so she's
Yeah.
just 9 years older than I am.
well, I'm happy to hear that Claire was planning to go off to college right after high school. That gives me that kind of gives me some indication that your parents were trying to get the boys into college. They weren't just
Absolutely.
sending you off to
Mhm.
the army or something. That, I mean, that's
Well,
pretty
much everybody went
encouraging.
to college, didn't they?
No,
Not at that time.
Well, I mean,
there
you're
were
in the
two
boys.
other girls besides me that went to college from our class, but our class had only 32
Uh-huh.
in it.
And probably half of them were girls, roughly? In the
No.
junior high school class?
Three girls from the class
Oh.
went on to college.
Wow.
We were still in the Depression,
Oh, okay,
and they had to go to work
sure.
to help their families. And I never had to work at anything until I worked as a teacher.
Hmm.
All my friends were working summer jobs.
What did you teach?
I taught elementary.
Any first, second, third
I
grade?
taught nearly all of them.
Wow. Huh. Did that make you hate kids?
Does that what?
Did you
Did that make you hate kids, or do you like kids?
Oh, no, I love kids.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd love them today, the way they act.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the pupils I had was a cutest little Jewish boy. I taught in the Ladue school system, and that's nearly all Jewish. It's a very wealthy community.
Mhm.
And this little boy was so cute. And we met him again when Claire worked at that camp
Oh,
in
yeah.
Wisconsin.
Oh, sure.
He was there as a little camper. He was in junior high or high school at that time. And I talked with him last year. He called me
Really?
because of that camp. He had seen in the camp
Who's the name of the
paper
camp? Was
that
it?
comes out every month when Clara died.
Uh-huh.
And he wanted to call me and tell me that Claire was the most wonderful man.
Hmm.
And this is really a story. I'm getting the shivers again. And Randy was his name. Randy has Claire's exact job at that same camp.
Oh,
Wow.
So I talked with him the other day when I read in our Canton Bagaman paper
Yeah.
that he was going to be the village push. That
Mhm.
means you're head
I see.
counselor.
Hmm.
I don't know why they call them pushes. It was a camp that was set up for like lumbering.
How did he get hooked up with that? How did Claire get hooked up with that camp thing?
And he was working on the playgrounds. Remember, he'd been turned down for the Army
Yeah.
and the Navy.
Right.
So he was one of the few men that were working on the playgrounds in the city of St. Louis for the summer. He had to get a job in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
And it was so hot, miserable on that paved playground, no trees, no shade, any place, and he hated it. So he kept reading the ads in the paper, and they wanted a counselor for a summer camp up in Wisconsin. And the owner of the camp who had put the ad in the paper turned out to be a man he knew who was very prominent in athletics
Yeah.
here and in the Y.
Oh, yes.
And one of Claire's college jobs was at the Y.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, his name was Muggs Larber. Muggs was his nickname. His name was Max Larber.
And they call him Muggs, or
Everybody calls him Muggs.
what a name.
Isn't that horrible? He was a wonderful man. A little short, round like a billiken. You know what a billiken is?
Is it from the Hobbits? The book, The Hobbit?
Yes. He was
Like
shaped
Bilbo
like an
Baggins?
egg.
Like an egg?
Like a big egg. But oh, such a wonderful person.
Mhm.
But being Jewish, he didn't pay a whole lot.
Yeah.
But it was fine for us because,
You used to
especially,
go up there every year though, didn't you?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
25 years I went up there. And
yeah.
our
Wow.
kids grew up there every summer. They don't know what a summer's like in St. Louis.
How fantastic.
Yeah, it was for them, because then the two boys got to go to camp.
Right, that's right.
And when Sally came along,
That was that
by
was a
that
real
time,
benefit,
we had
that
our
wasn't it?
own little cottage
Yeah.
up there. That's where Bill and Shirley had their honeymoon.
At your
was in our
cottage?
cottage.
Oh.
Yeah. And they must have been married toward the end of summer, because by that time we were home. And we didn't board up the cabin that summer because we knew they were coming. And the other people stayed on until Labor Day, which we did when we first went up there. But when Claire was the principal, he had to be
Back.
at work 2 weeks ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So we left the windows as they were. Otherwise, he put shutters on them because animals would get in the cottage.
I was trying to tell my daughter and son about the little gal that he helped, went out to see her. She had dropped out of school or dropped away, hadn't seen her, so he'd gone around. This is when he was a principal at, what high school was
You
it?
talking about Bill or Claire?
No, Claire. He was a principal at the high school.
Which high school was it? The what name?
Well, he was principal at Cleveland and at
Yeah.
Northwest.
Yeah, okay. And he had befriended, or at least got an idea that this little girl needed some help since she had dropped away from school. She was a good student.
I don't know this story.
So he went out and into the neighborhood to find out why she hadn't been showing up for school. And as a result, he found out that, number one, she didn't have any spending money for lunches. She had very few clothes, and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, he got all this together. He got, clothes that she could wear, and he got a small stipend of money so she could come back to school and have lunch, I guess. And that's how I remember him going out of his way to take care of his student. And right after that, I think this was at Northwest. Is that what is it?
Mhm.
Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
She was out there after all the help that Clara could give her, getting her back to school and spending money and what. She was out there demonstrating. We wants our rights. We wants our rights.
Well, of course they did.
Sure.
Yeah, well.
Let me pull this out. This looks like it's in your way just a little bit.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
Boy, you would wait on me, huh?
I will.
Have you around. Well, I know that when he was a coach at McKinley High School,
Yeah.
that was his first job. He had a hard time getting the boys to come to practice after school because they all had jobs. It was a very poor neighborhood down near the river. And they lived in tenements because he tells about this one guy didn't show up for practice, and he went to his home to see why he
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
And he told how he had to go around the back and climb up steps, and the poor kid had nothing. His parents were there, but they had just nothing. It was real poverty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I know that he did visit at the homes whenever he could. And the superintendent of the Wellston schools used to visit at your mother's picnic table.
You talking
On
Nybeck?
I'm
it?
no, I'm
Oh,
talking
no.
about Halter.
Halter, oh yeah, okay.
Mr. Halter.
Nybeck was a step up from Halter, wasn't he?
No.
Step down? Okay.
He was never anything but the teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put that down.
He didn't have class like Halter
Halter,
had.
yeah, okay.
So
It
he'd
was-
come visit at their picnic table?
because she made the best fried chicken.
Huh.
He'd come and eat lunch at the Houston table on the picnic grounds.
Boy, listen, that's one thing I remember about some of our so-called distant cousins and what, we used to pile in St. Louis and go out, that's
On
a
Sundays.
And they'd always show up for
Yeah.
food that my
She
mother
never
used to
knew
cook.
how many she'd have.
So what,
Yeah.
did she rise early and just start cooking at 5
It
a.m.?
took time, but,
Did she have any help in the kitchen?
Oh, no.
Goodness, no.
Well, I ask because my mother-in-law, she comes from a family of 13 children, and they would rise in the morning and start baking the fresh bread
Oh,
for the
my
day.
goodness.
And there was like 7 boys and 5 girls, and the girls would be baking, and they'd come out of the fields and they would devour all of the homemade bread at one meal.
Oh, yeah.
And they would have to cook for the whole family. And it was like feeding an army. That was with 13
Sure.
kids and the parents. That was 15 people
Did the
at
boys
every
have
meal.
to cook?
No, they
That's the difference.
were pulling the cotton. But
Yeah.
then my mother-in-law pulled cotton too. She used
The
to tell
poor
me how
girls
they
had
would.
to do the cooking and the housework.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, nowadays, men are doing more of the cooking,
True.
but now, but that's why restaurants are doing so well now.
And today men
Men just go out to the
fathering
restaurant.
better too.
Yeah, I think so.
And I don't mean that in a derogatory, which would be unheard.
Right.
When our Sam was born, Claire was painting up on a ladder,
Oh, yeah.
painting my folks' house.
Across the street on,
When we lived on Wellsmar.
oh, yeah.
You
right.
remember where we lived?
Yeah.
Did you go to a hospital to have your babies
No, he was home painting. He
But were you-
took me and dropped me.
at the hospital? Okay.
He didn't want to have any part.
Callous so-and-so.
He makes a good story of it. He used to say he was up on the ladder with the paint bucket, and my mother shouted out the window to him, "You've got a baby son, you've got a boy." And he threw the paint all over himself and gone down the ladder. That's his story.
Huh.
No, men and parents, the grandmother and grandfathers weren't allowed in the room.
Hmm.
And the fathers could come only at visiting time.
Oh boy, that's different.
And the mothers stayed in the hospital 2 weeks after the baby was born. We were so weak that the day before we were to go home, they had us sit up in bed and put our legs over the bed, dangle our legs. Because if you stood on them, they were like needles and pins. You couldn't stand up after lying in bed for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Oh my
Wasn't
gosh.
that dumb?
Mhm.
Really?
Well, my mother said she was. Well, they were in and had anesthesia, so she didn't.
Oh, of course. I don't know anything about the birth.
So that's unusual too. I think.
But then, like
For you.
your mother, had a midwife, our neighbor across the
Sure
hill.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
So she didn't have time to lay in bed because she was
No.
probably up the next morning cooking for 10.
And she used to say, every time that Mr. Houston, she called your dad Mr. Houston, hangs his hat on the bedpost, I get pregnant.
That was pretty awful.
Wasn't
too.
that cute? Yeah, I think she had about 14 pregnancies,
Well,
Oh, yeah.
counting the twins.
Shirley said
17.
17 yesterday,
That's a little much.
and I'd always heard 15 growing up, because there was little sister and then there was 2 sets of twins, so that was 5 more
Didn't it?
right? Then
4 or 5.
there were there,
I
you
don't
had
know.
six,
That's
so there's
good.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. You
And maybe
told
there-
me how Shirley looked. How did Bill look?
Well, Bill has lost a tremendous amount of weight compared to.
Mother got acquainted with Mr. Houston,
okay.
your dad, at the board meetings, and she'd come home from a meeting and she'd say, she'd be so disgusted with the men all the time because they were so stupid, she thought. But when Mr. Houston got on the school board, she'd come home and she'd say, that Mr. Houston, although he doesn't have an education, he really has common sense. She was an admirer of his. So they just thought, Claire, they accepted him with open arms. And of course, being a small area, we knew everybody's family. We knew the Houstons.
And what was the
were
neighborhood?
Poor but trustworthy.
Yeah.
Poor as could be.
That's why I was so surprised when you said that Claire was going off to college, because I didn't think that y'all could afford. But was he getting a
He borrowed
scholarship?
the money from
Yes,
Reverend
yes.
Nelson, right?
Nelson.
Right.
But he
Mr.
also
Nelson
probably
gave
had
him
an
some.
athletic scholarship,
He
right?
did.
So,
And it was because of this Mr. Halter that I mentioned. He took Claire up there to school and introduced him to the coaches
Mm-hmm.
and all. So he
And-
not only could, what
all
was-
because of Grandma making him fried chicken?
I don't know. But
No.
Uncle
Mr.
Ken
Halter would go to your
Yes.
picnics and eat
he
your fried chicken.
liked Claire.
Uncle
See,
Ken
it's-
borrowed
In
money
fact-
too to go to college, didn't he?
What?
Uncle Ken used to borrow money to go to college also.
Yeah, but
Reverend
Ken
Nelson.
must have had a scholarship to go to Wash U.
You
Is that
I
where he
don't
went to
think
school?
He started
The
at
first
Washington
year.
U. And when Claire started then up at Missouri, he transferred to Missouri.
Right.
How much? What was the age difference between Claire and Ken?
2 or 3 years, 2 years, I
Hmm.
guess.
Ken was older, wasn't he?
Yeah,
It was
Yeah.
Paul Claire.
yeah.
And Paul
Ken
was the
Claire.
very oldest, and he was
Yes.
like 10 years older than you, or 15? Because if Mary
work
Jane
for
was
me.
3,
And come to
and
think of it, he changed his personality when he
Pa-
got real old. and
Paul
sick.
did.
Paul did, yeah. We didn't like him at our parties because he got religion. He was wanting us all to go home so we could get up for church the next morning.
Oh,
He really did. He should have been a preacher. I can remember him. We were at a party in a ratskeller, we used to call them. And he was walking up the steps and he was giving the people that were staying a lecture. He changed completely.
Well, how old was he when he did that?
Oh, he was, I thought, pretty old at that time. He didn't live much longer after that.
what was it? What did he pass from? Did he have what caused him to change his
We
personality?
really don't know. He was in a nursing home, and we'd go to visit him,
Right.
and we'd go with Bill and Shirley
I
to
remember
visit
the
him.
story that you had gone down there with Claire, and after you left, he didn't wanna, he did not want him to leave, and he wanted to go home with you. Is that right?
Mm.
Oh, that's
Who's that?
heartbreaking.
Claire or Ken?
Paul.
Oh, Paul.
Yeah, every time they go down to visit him, well, he always wanted to go home with them.
Yeah, he was in a Presbyterian nursing home in Farmington, Missouri. And we would drive down on a weekend when Bill and Claire could go with us. Yeah.
What did Uncle Claire die of?
What's his what?
What did Uncle Claire die of? What?
Parkinson's.
Oh, okay, that's right.
But actually, the death certificate says pneumonia with with Parkinson's written in parentheses or something.
How old was he when he got Parkinson's?
We were still living in Columbia, and of course we didn't know it was Parkinson's, but he knew that it was before, it was around 1979. And he said, there's something wrong with me. That was when he was working for the Athletic Association.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, I catch myself pushing my feet into the floor all the time. Well, his muscles, I realized later after I was educated about Parkinson's, get rigid. And that's what was happening. I thought, she's going to be sick. I want to be home with my family around me. And that's when we moved back to St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And that was from where? Where were you living before?
In
In
Columbia.
Columbia, Missouri.
Okay,
Just well, his doctor said, you've got to get out of that principal job at Northwest.
Yeah.
Because that was at the time when they integrated the schools. And his life was miserable at that time. Trying to keep out the kids that should be in school, but weren't in school. They weren't in attendance. They tried to come in to the schools. And it wasn't a principal job. He said, this is a police job I'm doing now.
Yeah.
They would,
You know, I told that story on Claire about you going out to that one lady or young student's house
Right.
and try to get her some clothes.
Right.
They got her clothes.
Yeah, you
and
told us
spending
that
money or
story.
what have you.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah, you told us that story
Yeah.
a minute ago.
Well, that's what I,
yeah.
did I tell you it right here?
That's
Yeah.
something else that happens in old age. And around here, we all tell stories over and over again. And our table mates laugh every time. 'Cause about in the middle of the story, you realize, oh, I told this story over.
They're always
But
nudging her. There she goes again.
So we
Another damn
understand
story.
each other.
At least you can laugh at yourself anyway.
But he lived, he died in 90, and we moved, he lived 10 years after that.
Mm.
That is amazing, because
Yes,
And
my
what
mother-in-law
year-
passed after just like 3 years.
and I think it was because he was an athlete.
Mhm.
Because even though he would fall, he could get himself up
Mhm.
until the very end when he fell out of bed or rolled out of bed. He didn't mean to fall. He was going to stand up and couldn't make it.
Mm.
That's when he had to go to the hospital.
Well, I fell in my kitchen, and I think I still had the coffee carafe in my hand. I didn't break it. But
I think you
just
broke
leaned-
it.
Did I break it?
I think you broke it. You went out cold.
That's correct.
I
Mhm.
just passed out and hit my head on the
Oh, my.
refrigerator.
And Mother did
How
what
frightening.
thought you were gone for a few minutes
Sure.
because you were out cold,
Mhm.
and she yelled at you to come back.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure, and she, you finally registered. You finally, you know,
Yeah, she
started
started in
some.
the face, didn't she?
I don't know if she did
Get
that.
off. She kicked you. Get off.
You've been here
But-
long enough.
I'm so disappointed I didn't get to see her and she didn't come with you.
Well, she
But
told
I'm
us.
so glad that I met you and saw you again. But you're just really brand new to me.
Well, I think the last time I probably saw you was a family reunion back in
That was probably the 70s.
this late 60s.
The cable
Late
was
60s, no, here in St. Louis. We
Oh, in St.
drove
Louis?
to the family reunion.
Oh, okay.
Where was
And
it? Do you
it
remember?
was, I want to say, at Uncle Paul's house
You never had that?
or Uncle Claire's or, okay, Jim and Zola?
It
Jim and
must have been
Jola's
our
house or maybe your
'Cause
house?
I have pictures
Yeah.
of reunions at our house.
Okay. And so I was about 12 or 10. So I was born in 56, so it was 66, sometime in the late 60s. There was a family reunion, and I remember hanging out with a couple of
Do
cousins.
you remember if we had tables and chairs set up in our den?
That sounds kind of familiar.
And I think Sally took you all back to her bedroom, and that was the end of you. You played in the bedroom or something.
That sounds about
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's why. I guess I didn't notice you. You were some
So-
little girl I wasn't paying
Uh-huh.
attention to.
Uh-huh. So just a kid back there with the rest of with the cousins. So, but Sally was older than I was.
Yes. Well, Sally's going to be 60,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Our
are.
little
52.
Sally's going to be 60.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh.
I bet it was the one at our house. We had a kitchen next to the dining room, but it was open in between.
Right.
With shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because I took a picture of Sam and I standing there. Somebody did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Edith was there. Your mother was there.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Vi and Ken were there. Because I have a picture of the other sister-in-laws fixing Vi's hair.
Oh, yeah.
And it was reflected in the mirror in the living room. And it's such a nice picture, you know, to see all their faces, or the backs of their heads, depending on how they were standing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How interesting. Well, you know how I got these. I flew up to meet Aunt Vi, and I had heard that Kenneth had the 8mm movies, and so I told her I'm going to come up to New Jersey, and so she went and had the 8mm movies transferred onto videotape, because DVDs weren't around yet. So
Uh-huh.
when you first put these in, and it's probably the same on yours, there's just color bars.
Okay.
And so it's
sure.
going to look like it's an empty.
Yes.
You're going to go, something's wrong with this.
Yes.
But if you just wait a minute or two, then the movie starts.
Okay.
So I went up there, and she was driving an ancient car that Uncle Ken had bought her,
Oh, yeah.
and she was never going to
She
get rid of
changed,
that
too,
car.
in later years.
And
Yours What did you say, Jim?
she
Vi
Vi changed.
too,
Oh.
her personality.
Well, see, I didn't know her
No.
until she was older, and I was older, and so then I got the videotape and came back, and that was his birthday present for his 60th birthday. I think Brad organized a surprise birthday party.
Yeah,
Is that
I remember
Right,
getting an
and so-
invitation.
And so then, so I gave him the videotape, and then I just thought that more of the grandkids should have copies.
Sure.
So, because they're
Sure,
just
that's a
amazing
wonderful idea.
to see. So that's
Yeah.
why I brought you 3 more copies.
Okay.
So, but that's how I got the videotape. And then,
Uh-huh.
of course, I didn't realize, I didn't even know when Vi passed away till later, until long after.
She
the
became
service
kind
and
of a hermit
Mm.
before she died, and a collector.
Well, she was a hermit, but she also sold her stuff at they had this flea market. So she was pretty social because
Oh.
she was a collector,
Oh.
but she also would go out to the flea market on the weekends and sell her stuff.
That sounds like Vi.
So
that
she
was
was-
back when you went there 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's
Well,
But she
more-
didn't.
She just passed away 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yes.
About 2 years ago?
Was it really that
Yeah.
recently?
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
remember talking to, or emailing with,
Was she
Gary.
still in that house
Gary
in New
Houston.
Jersey? She was still in that house in
no,
No.
New
she moved
Jersey,
down to
wasn't
Fort
it?
Worth.
Yeah,
They
Bunny had
moved
brought her
down-
down to
Yeah,
Fort
yeah.
Worth.
moved her down to Fort Worth.
And see, and I didn't know she was in Fort Worth, or I would have gone up there to see her again, because that was within driving distance of Austin, so it would have been easy. But
Well,
I did.
Uncle Ken, I think, left the family in pretty good financial shape because I've got pictures of the house that they bought. And of course, Gary has remarried is married now.
Mhm. Hedda.
Just from, huh?
He's married to Hedda, lives in
Hedda.
Chicago.
Yeah, good-looking girl.
Do you know Gary?
Yes, he mailed me Obama's 2 books.
You what?
He mailed me Obama's 2 books
Oh,
to
did he
read,
really?
read, yes.
Oh, yeah, he's,
And he knows that he and Tom and Marcia and you, are Democrats. So he knows that I'm a Republican.
oh no, we helped start the Republican Party in the Dallas area.
Now, yes, but you became a Democrat
You became a Democrat.
in the last few years.
Yeah.
I'm
You,
not sure you're a Democrat, but you're.
On the border, I'd
He's,
say.
well, he just, when you say you just more were disappointed with the Bush administration.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
I
So
knew.
he,
you
he, I
would
think,
like
I don't know if he's crossed the line to be a Democrat yet, but
Okay.
he's tolerating
Yes.
the
There's
Democrats.
still some hope for you, say.
Is that accurate?
Yeah,
You're still, I mean, you're just tolerating the Democrats. I don't know if you're a Democrat. Now, my mom, I think, has switched, going from all the way from a Republican to a Democrat.
Well,
Because of Bush.
well, not totally. She
She's a-
started following. She was following Phil Graham closely, and she got disillusioned because
Oh.
he was our Texas senator, and he was pulling some shenanigans. And when she got to Austin, she started following Lloyd Doggett, and Lloyd Doggett was making sense and doing the right things.
Well, Lloyd
and-
Doggett was more, even though he's a Democrat, he was sort of embracing the old tenets of the Republican Party: fiscal responsibility, not spending
Mhm.
a lot, and just
Mhm.
a lot of things like that. There's a few things that he was kind of liberal on, but he was really embracing a lot of the former Republican doctrines, and so he's.
He used to canvass the neighborhood there, trying to convert people into thinking about Republicans.
You guys did.
Yeah. We got, let's see, I can't remember some of the local talent that we,
in Dallas, right?
in Dallas, right?
In Dallas, you helped start the
Well, we thought it would be a good idea to have a 2-party state.
Well, Aunt Janet, Texas used to have one party. It was a Democratic Party. And they
Really?
were either conservative Democrats or they were liberal Democrats. Well, all those conservative Democrats now are Republicans. The state is definitely a
Primarily.
red state. It's a red state. It's Republican. No Democrat has been elected to a statewide office in 15 years, I don't think. We're all
What
Republicans.
was the woman governor you had? What was she?
Ann
Ann
Richards. She was
the last one. She was a Democrat, but there hadn't since then.
Oh.
Since she got voted out, she lost.
Mhm.
She ran for re-election and lost to
Bush.
George W. Bush,
Mhm.
and it's been Republican ever since. And that was, you got to figure, Bush was president for 8 years, and then he was
Well,
governor.
she
for-
was elected governor in '91 because I was pregnant with Chanel.
Was it a 5-year term?
And no, it was the 4, I think, or what's the
I thought
governor?
the governor was 5.
No, not that long.
Where's it?
3 or
You got a
4.
computer? Can we check? Can we Google that? Real
Can't you
quickly?
Google that on your phone, Brad?
I don't have the internet on my phone. I just got a regular phone.
He'd go and do things socially with them,
Uh-huh.
but most of the time he was in horrible places,
Mm-hmm.
but had some funny experiences too, but some dangerous experiences also.
So were they a nonprofit? Were they just an independently wealthy couple, or did they have a nonprofit
Foundation.
foundation that was trying to
You
save
know,
the rainforest?
I don't know, but he's always worked for nonprofit, so I guess it was. But I don't think they made any headway. The job's over. He told me be over in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does he have any children?
Yes, they're both married.
Uh-huh.
And,
Boys?
Mike Houston
Okay.
and Janice
Okay.
Houston. And Mike Houston has a son, so it's Tom's first grandson.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he's just crazy about this grandson. And he married a girl who has been in this country since she was 2 years old, but her parents brought her here from Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
She's a Taiwanese.
And this is Mike's wife?
Yes.
Okay.
And she's beautiful, beautiful girl. There's their wedding book. But I can't tell from the pictures
Oh my
that
goodness.
I've gotten over the internet whether he's going to have those slanty eyes or not. But this is a picture.
A clever idea doing this on transporting all the
Yes,
photographs.
this
So-
is his wife.
What did Mike study at Stanford?
Computers.
Oh, okay.
He has a doctorate.
Does he really?
Yes,
Oh, he's
he
a smart
really
guy,
does.
isn't
Yeah.
he? Wow.
You know, get next to her. And when we saw her, they all came to dinner, you know, and when she walked in with bare shoulders and a strap, hair fixed differently, I think he was scared of her. I really do.
In all the picture?
Yes, it's when the youngest was just about a year old.
Okay, this is a photograph of Janet and her younger sister Martha having tea when they were little girls.
Wow.
And this is her grandsons
4 little
This
no?
one's
daughters
ready for college
having
now,
tea.
final.
Oh, this is the little girl, right?
Yes.
The youngest. So
Mhm.
3/4. And this guy's going to college?
Nona that sings on his way to a funeral of a sister-in-law. Well, we were driving from here all the way. Yeah. You want to put that a better place to take a picture of it?
No, ma'am, I'm just gonna,
Okay, just.
I hope this photographs
It's a
without,
little
There we
blurry.
go.
You might want to come
I
out.
backed out.
There you go. I did?
So at this baby's, they had Taiwanese there. You know, the other grandparents are
Well, christening party, who did Mike?
2
Oh,
years.
that's right, because they had the little grandson, Tommy's
Yes.
only grandson. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And it was like a melting pot, Tom said, with all the people that were there.
Mhm.
And then he said, oh, no, yes, Doug's a Hoosier. He's from Indiana.
Do you know where Doug is Janice's husband?
I have one left.
I'll split it with somebody, or I'll split it with 2 people.
That's the cherry one.
You sure you're not hungry?
I might take a nibble on it, but I'm kind of okay. Here's a bottle of water.
There you go.
Oh, thanks. Oh, that's tasty.
What is?
Right here, taste it. It's a cherry pie.
No, I don't think. Thank you.
Here, Brad, go ahead. Yum. Uh-huh. There's the First Presbyterian Church.
Right here.
Mhm.
You ever go there? Woodlawn. Do I turn on Woodlawn?
Yes.
Which way?
Left. There's one for sale. I like that one. Yeah, the one on the left that we just passed was.
Yeah, it's got a huge way, way back there. Now what do I do?
I don't, it's gonna be left, I think, on Fairlawn.
Well,
Essex?
no, I think we need to turn back there.
Really?
If I remember correctly. Yeah.
What do you mean, turn left here?
Well, you can,
All
but
right.
Comes out.
There's Claybrook.
no, wait a minute. Here.
Look, here's the map that Mother did.
Oh, okay, all right.
You go north on Woodlawn until you get to Fairwood Lane. So it just should be a couple more streets.
Turn that on that.
I'm sorry.
Isn't it Fair? It's Fairwood.
Okay, Fairwood. Okay.
Sure we haven't passed it.
Well, actually, I wasn't looking at the street signs.
Well, you're
I
supposed
was
to be navigating.
videotaping.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's not a big street. So good.
We should ask that guy walking his dog.
What was that?
That was stuff. Let me see what.
It's like a carton egg. Okay, so Fairwood.
Is this it? No, that's Longview.
The one you thought we should turn on.
Let's see if Kirkwood's on here. See, we're
Back to
back.
Adams.
Yeah,
Huh?
we're back to Adams. So I don't think.
So we're supposed to turn this way?
According to Mother, but you want to go a couple more down just
Yeah,
to.
better. Well, I don't think, no, I used to turn on that street,
You sure? You think that's it?
Fairwood Lane,
Was it Fairwood?
that's the one I remember.
Okay, well, Woodlawn,
No,
Jefferson Historic District,
yeah.
Aragon.
Is this? Do you remember driving around this neighborhood when you were a kid, Fred?
Me?
Yeah.
Nope.
That-
I have virtually no. Very
What be damned, you mean to tell me that?
Madison.
Yeah, I think it's back the other way. Look at the sides of these lots.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to turn around and go back and East Monroe.
Wow, look at the size of that one with the green trim. Man,
That's a good size, wow, right.
I love that house.
The upkeep on that house must be gazillion.
And they're keeping it up too. Look at all that. Look at all how many rooms it must have.
Yeah, you need to find a place to turn around.
Something like this.
Yeah.
All right, did you want to call Hannah and say, what's up?
I'll be damned. Fred, I've been over this road so damn many times, I can't